So, good afternoon. I have the pleasure to welcome today Bob Bralove. It's funny that
Bralove.
Bralove. It's funny that the word love is in your name.
It is.
Okay, so you are a musician and you worked for other musicians. You just told me.
Yes, I have.
Okay,
I've had a very lucky and wonderful career working for some of my heroes,
really?
musical heroes. So it's been really
Oh, how
wonderful.
did you get them to be interested in you?
Well, I was studying at San Francisco State.
Yeah,
I was writing orchestral music and chamber music,
really.
and I needed a job, so I jumped into the computer
Stars?
world,
Oh, the computer world. Okay.
and I just had a knack for it.
Hmm.
And I was working around in the Silicon Valley doing consulting, and this was the days when nobody had degrees, or
Okay.
it was a cowboy
Connections.
town.
Connections.
It was a cowboy town. If you could do it,
You
you
in.
got the
You are
job.
in.
And I had a certain talent in translations.
Yeah. Which
And
language?
it
French.
was I did do some work in French. Actually, it was a French translator who
And
helped
hired
me.
you?
Helped me. I was there to assist him, and he showed me how the software worked.
Can you
And then,
handle an interview in French?
no, I
No.
couldn't. Not
Okay.
at this point.
No. Okay. So it was a long time ago.
Yes, and it turned out that Stevie Wonder had one of the computers
Wow.
that for the company that I was working for,
Wow.
and a friend of mine. It was when in the days when you called a company for support and you
Yeah.
got the company,
Yeah.
and he was answering those calls, and he said, I got a call from Stevie Wonder's guy, and I had said to him, if anybody's doing music with these things, let me know.
Wow. Because you knew how to work that kind of computer?
Well, I was flying by the seat of my pants. Nobody really knew how to work anything.
Oh.
Everything was changing all the
Okay.
time.
Of course. Yeah.
And so if you could just stay on top of things,
Yeah. You
you
in.
could do something. And
Okay.
so I called Stevie Wonder's guy, Lon Neumann, and still working in L.A., and asked what Stevie was doing with it, with the machine, and I started writing some software for him
Yeah.
that would route the machine
Yeah.
to a
Recording.
to a voice synthesizer,
I see.
so he could experience what was happening on the screen.
Okay. Okay.
And
He had an assistant to do that, right?
well, he didn't have it. He wasn't accessing the machines that way.
Yeah,
But
because
he had a Braille computer.
oh, Braille, okay.
And
And that's what I said. He must have had an assistant.
uh,
No?
none of his assistants were really running the machines.
Okay, he was.
He was,
Okay.
and so it was about designing systems.
I see.
And so I was designing systems initially so that his synthesizers would talk to him,
I see.
so he could program them.
Wow.
And in doing that, I had to learn how to operate the synthesizers.
Okay, and you learned.
And then he would say, "Oh, I would do that when he wasn't working in the studio. I would make noise."
Okay.
And he came in one day and said, "Why don't you hang around for a little bit? We're going to record.
We're
We
gonna
might be
need
able to
your
help you."
assistance.
Yeah.
We're gonna need
And
your
that kept
assistance.
growing. And then one day he turned around and said, "What are you doing this summer? I'd like to go to Europe. Do you want to come?"
Oh,
So that just kept growing, and I was involved in
and
the
you
studio.
stayed. You stayed. Okay,
I stayed for about 8 years with Steve.
that's a long time in today's world.
Yeah, yeah,
People move every 2 years nowadays.
yeah, yeah. Well, uh, Steve is an amazing teacher, an amazing human being, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. He's
Okay, so you had the kind of you would go when he needed you, or it was like a full-time thing.
it was a full-time thing, all over the world,
Really?
doing whatever he wanted. Yeah,
So if he goes on a tour in Europe, you would go?
I would go. I'd go in the United States. I would go to sometimes to guest TV shows where he
Yeah.
was going to, you know, he is one of the premier artists of the synthesizer.
Wow.
So he was very, very involved in being presented new materials, new toys, new things. It was a wonderful thing. And then, you know, we do TV shows and movie soundtracks, and I was there to help him do whatever he wanted to do.
He was in a couple movies, right? I don't know, maybe several.
Uh, yes, the one I remember is Beach Blanket Babylon,
Oh
I think
yeah,
number
okay.
two.
Okay. So he was in that one. Okay.
But we did soundtracks to Woman in Red.
Huh? You mean they used his music and you would?
Yes, he was contracted for the soundtrack,
For the sound.
for the whole film.
I see. I see.
That was with Dionne Warwick.
I see. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is she
and-
still alive?
I believe so, but
Oh
I'm not.
yeah. Because we used to see her like more often. Maybe she kind of retired a little bit. Okay.
I hear
that's
she's living in Brazil.
I see.
I'm not sure.
It's possible. Okay, we don't know their private life, right?
Right.
So, so it's good. I mean, I'm surprised that you work with such high caliber artists. I didn't know that. So you that was the beginning of your career.
Yes, I mean, I feel like my career started when I was composing and learning.
Oh, you were a
You know,
musician yourself.
Yeah,
I
I was getting a master's degree at State in composition, and I
I
was
see.
writing symphonic material, and I did some film scores that got soundtracks. One of them was with another student, Terry Etherton, and it was nominated for a Student Academy Award.
Really?
And so, you know, I was working on
other
that,
things.
yeah.
Meanwhile, so your career started as a composer and then moved on
Right.
with assisting stars.
Yes, well, I was working in the computer industry to support myself
Okay.
as a student.
Of course, yeah.
And when Steve invited me down to visit him for the first time,
Yeah.
he asked me to stay for a recording session.
Okay.
Just, I wasn't experienced about any of it at that time. I just had written him some free software to make his
Music
computers work,
easier.
not music,
Okay.
but just desk tasks.
I see.
And he went in and did an overdub. And I was sitting, and he was playing a synthesizer, CS80.
And he liked your work?
And we weren't
Obviously,
discussing my work. I
obviously,
just invited
obviously.
him. I just written some software for him,
Yeah,
very simple software.
yeah.
But nobody was doing that, and you know, it was
In
a
these
blind
days,
application
yes,
back then. It was,
yes.
you know, now
That's
it's much
good
more
that you
sophisticated.
knew how to do it.
And he started playing, and the energy that exuded from him was so strong
Really?
that I knew I had found a place to be.
I see. I see. He
Yeah.
liked your work.
Well, he did. I spent 8 years with him. He could have sent me, you know, going
fly a
there.
kite somewhere
Yes,
else,
and-
right?
But
Okay.
it was
Okay.
very open and very, you know, our connection was strong, and it was a brilliant. He's a genius, you know.
That's awesome. And then you moved up. He's my favorite singer. If I knew you worked with him, I would have been intimidated to even invite you. So after that,
I thought you knew. That's why you
no, I
invited me.
didn't know. I didn't know because I flipped through different names without looking at their profile. So after that, you moved on to another star. You said.
Well, I met a Bay Area local guy
Yeah.
at a Grammy show.
Yeah.
And I was working with Stevie, Herbie Hancock, Thomas Dolby, and Howard Jones on a Grammy performance.
I see.
All of them virtuoso synthesizers players, virtuoso keyboard players, just wonderful musicians. And this guy came over to me, his name was Merle Saunders, and he was a local San Francisco guy, and said, "You operate all those machines?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yes." And he goes, do you want to do a TV soundtrack?
Mm.
So we finished this album, the Woman in Red album, and we were going off to, maybe it was in Square Circle, and he had a break before we were going to Japan.
Okay.
So I came up here
To San Francisco?
to San Francisco, and we started working on the Twilight Zone series, the CBS remake of the Twilight Zone.
Oh my goodness, that's a very high level kind of production.
And he had the contract to do that soundtrack
Yeah.
with the Grateful Dead.
Oh,
So at that point, I was meeting the Grateful Dead.
okay.
And I was doing some sections of the score
Yeah.
when the band was on the road. I would work with Merle. We'd fill in sections. I got along great with Mickey Hart, who had a more vitalist sense of the avant-garde that I was into, because I also have this sort of 50s and 60s classical avant-garde
Okay.
part of my...
Yeah.
And Mickey has a sonic
Yeah. And you look like
consciousness.
Jerry Garcia yourself. I mean,
I don't know if that's a compliment.
in some ways, maybe the personality, maybe it rubbed on you.
Maybe. I mean, he's awesome.
Yeah.
But Mickey and I got along really well. So we were doing the sound design
Yeah.
for the CBS, the remake of the Twilight Zone, and then I was doing the score with Merle.
Oh.
So I was the only person in both camps. And the sound design was very creative with Mickey's approach. And the score was wonderfully... It was very concise and sort of addressed the issues very articulately. Sound design being really sonic kind of textures
Okay.
that could be anywhere from abstract to concrete, but not the, footsteps or Foley,
Okay.
what they call Foley. So we would have Tibetan prayer bowls slowed down to really slow, kind of sonic waves of things, and water phones and all these kinds of things. And then Merle would bring in a little, maybe a minuet or something, depending on what was going on, or a little bass and drums or something. And so it would all come together. All that would be sent to L.A. and then mixed.
What
the
era was
CBS.
that? That was the 80s, the 90s?
That was the 80s.
The 80s, okay.
86.
So you were
85,
quite
86.
young then. That was 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So you were like...
I'm young now.
Yeah. But I mean, you were into... you connected with them because it was an up-and-coming band kind of thing.
Well, they were...
Already famous?
Yes, they were playing stadiums.
Oh, my goodness.
It wasn't
okay.
an up-and-coming band. They were...
They were already playing
Yes.
in big stages.
Yeah.
So they say, we want you there, join us.
Well, they were doing an album, and they needed some synthesizer decoration, and they had that experience of me
With
on the
Stevie.
TV show.
Okay.
So they called me back in
And they say,
to
let's do it.
And
how
so-
many times did you have to do it for them? I mean, did you stay on the contract again?
Well, it eventually led to a contract that was
The main,
about
the main
8
person
years.
for synthesizing?
Well, they had the keyboard players, but I brought synthesizers to every member of the band.
I
It
see.
started focusing on the drummers, but everybody ended up playing a system that I would design for them.
I see.
At points, Jerry Garcia would be playing guitar, but it would sound like a flute or saxophone.
You could make it sound like anything you
right.
wanted?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
And so it was a wonderful. I mean, I loved making sounds,
Yes.
and you'd come up with something, and then you might hear it played for anywhere from 20 to 80,000 people.
Wow.
So It was very fun and exciting. And so every tour, I would bring them, once they had an established rig that played the way, there were some technical limitations,
Yeah.
for the bass because the low frequencies do certain things. But
Okay.
so Phil had the toughest struggle with it, but he played it beautifully,
Okay.
and so once everybody had an established system that they
Yeah.
liked playing, I would come up with new
New ways
sounds,
of.
new sounds for everybody every tour.
Oh, okay. So
So they would,
every crowd would hear something a little bit different.
if they liked it, if the band members would
Oh,
like
of course,
it.
they need to
So,
agree
yeah.
with it.
Well, but yes, but it was the Grateful Dead, so I kind of knew what they liked, and they would experiment, and then they might say, they experimented. Have you ever been to a Grateful Dead show?
I think I've seen. I guess online or something. No, no, I haven't. I haven't because I
If you
probably
saw it online, you haven't.
Yeah. What I would.
It's a live thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay,
But anyway,
it's
there's a section of the show
yeah.
that's called Drums in Space,
Okay.
and that is free-form improvisation, first by the two drummers,
Oh,
and then they leave the stage, and then the forefront guys come out, and they
play.
whoever wants to play. But free-form, no songs, no. It's very
Like they just make it up like on the spot.
free, yeah, avant-garde to anything. So this was the place that they experimented with my sounds.
Okay. So
So the first,
it was their own production all the time. It was never any of yours.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, did you ever sell them some of your music? No.
No,
No. So it was
I wrote
100% original, their stuff.
I'm not sure what.
What my question is?
Yes, it seems
My
like a little
question
vague.
is it
Well,
was,
let me.
It's for them. It was them.
They eventually I was playing in that
Oh,
section
that
of the
was
show.
okay. Okay.
I wrote songs with them. I produced records for them.
That was my question. Okay.
So I don't know if
So
that.
you once in a while you brought in your own piece of the music part.
Yes,
Okay, that was my question.
yes.
But
Did they allow me to contribute? Yes.
Okay, so
They
that's
were very
awesome.
generous. Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And
I
then-
mean, we just lost. We just lost Robert Hunter, who's one of the greatest lyricists in rock and roll.
Really?
And it's been, it's a huge, not only a huge privilege to have played and to enjoy the music with these guys, but to have written a song with Robert Hunter
With them? Okay.
is a pretty huge
You feel
feeling
good
of
about
accomplishment.
It. You feel good about it,
Yeah.
okay? So do they mention your name once in a while in the record?
Yes, everybody mentions my name on the
Oh,
record.
they do.
Yes.
Okay, they do. Okay. So you're part of the band then?
Especially if I produce the record. Then,
Yeah, yeah. So you are part of the band.
well,
kind
I
of.
was a
Kind of.
creative contributor. Yeah.
Creative contributor. That's a good word for it. So now that you found your worth with these two huge stars, you can actually produce your own, right? One day, with the you can put the band
I've been
together.
I've been producing my own music for a long time.
No, you can put the band together.
Yes, it doesn't take much to put a band together.
Really?
No.
You got to find the right people.
Yes.
So
But that becomes evident very quickly.
no, I
know.
mean since their way of working and their creativity rubbed on you, you have all the elements now to start your own.
I've been doing my own work for a long time.
Oh, that's good. So there is. What's the name of your band?
Well, one of them is Dos Hermanos.
DOSC?
DOSE
Really?
Hermanos.
Hermanos. So you work with Spanish people too?
No, the Dos is English.
Oh, those is English, but Hermanos obviously is
It's
sisters.
brothers.
Oh, brothers. So,
Hermanas is sisters.
oh, sorry. So those brothers was one of your band, or
It's a
still?
band. I'm finishing a record now for us. It's a duo.
Yeah.
The Dos is a reference to a medicinal.
Oh, the those. Okay.
Yeah. And we really started recording when the Grateful Dead ended. And
Okay.
it's with, it's me and a guy named Tom Constantin, a brilliant, brilliant keyboard player.
Okay. And what do you play?
I play
Oh,
keyboards.
you play keyboards. Okay. So
Uh,
that's good.
And I think it's our seventh album.
Yeah.
And Tom used to play with the Grateful Dead in 68 to 71 or
And
something like
he
that.
joined you and everything.
Yes, and the first, I would say, at least the first 5 years.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 20 years. At least the first 5 years of shows, which we were really playing a lot then. We dosed every show.
You dosed every show?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That a dose of acid or mushrooms.
That's the word you use?
Yes.
You dosed every show. What does that mean? You fed that to all the band members?
Yes, the two of us. It's a duo.
Okay, so you actually took it.
Yes.
Is that to modify the music?
Yes, it's to modify everything. That's why you take it.
Oh, is that what you take? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So it brings something to the music when you play it? When you
It brings something to your consciousness.
Really? I didn't know that. How do I know that? But anyway.
You live in San Francisco, right?
No, but I mean, you were allowed to take it. Without hiding it and saying this is us with the influence of this. You would not say that though.
Well, our history is from the Grateful Dead,
Okay. So
the
they
greatest
also,
psychedelic band in the world.
oh, they did that too. Okay.
There's a history here that
That I'm not aware
you're
of.
not very aware of. Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that that's what the kind of influenced what they played. I didn't know that.
So for us,
Yeah.
I can't speak for what the experience of somebody else is, but
Okay.
when I feel like it gets magical with Dos Hermanos,
Yeah. Then you record.
you record all the time.
Oh, you record all the time.
Yes. Then is when our consciousness lifts to a point
Yeah.
where you're no longer thinking about the notes,
Yeah.
but the gesture.
Oh, okay.
You're going to move from here up,
Okay.
and you're doing that, and your hand seems to know what notes to pick.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah, very interesting.
Do you know if other bands use that or just you?
Lots of bands use it.
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, because how do they call it?
Psychedelic.
It's psychedelic and it's also there's a word for it, like you do it on the spot kind of thing.
Improvisation.
Improved.
Yes, yes.
So it's all
we are
improv.
entirely well. By now we have reference points
Okay.
where we go. Oh,
We did that last time.
these kind of chord changes. I'm going to explore this again,
Okay.
and you can explore your version of it. But it's never an exact repertoire.
Okay.
Okay.
It's never
there's-
exactly the one
Yes.
before.
We tend to define the pieces by texture more than melody or harmony.
Okay.
So,
But texture.
by
Okay, the
musical texture.
Musical texture. Okay, explain me that. What is it?
Well, for example, I think we did a live thing from the Fillmore that has this on it. and it's the title escapes me now, but it has to do with the fire. And the idea of the piece
Yeah.
is that you are going to move
Yeah.
from the closest position of two notes
Oh, okay.
to the farthest
With your synthesizer?
with your hands, yes.
Oh, with your hands. Okay.
So you could play very close.
Very close, and then
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are two keyboard players, and those textures are just moving against each other.
Okay. And then there was one keyboard player, and the other one, there was two keyboard players.
It's a duet.
Duet, yeah. With
It's two people.
you do the keyboard.
Both people are keyboard players.
Oh, both keyboards, and then
And then
you
what?
gotta,
And then
then
what?
you follow each other.
Exactly.
Okay. He doesn't
It's
go
a
one
total
way.
conversation.
Okay, so he doesn't go one way while you go the other way.
Yes.
Okay.
We go any way we want to go.
Okay. Oh, you can mix and match the direction you
It's
going.
improvisation.
Okay, so he can do what he wants,
It's
and you do what you want.
it's improvisation with no rules.
Okay, okay. It's not that he does this way and you do this way also.
The idea is to move from the closest position
To the back.
to the widest position.
Okay, but if one break the rule, it's okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
No rules.
There's no rules. Okay, so
Yeah.
I like that. No rules.
It's
This-
I mean, it's
it's like my show. There's no rules.
it's a brotherhood
Yeah.
that is established in this psychedelic realm. We started playing together
Yeah.
when he was going to sit in with one of my bands, which was a great band called Second Sight.
That's another one of your bands.
Yeah, and he was sitting in with us, and I said, well, you want to come up to the Grateful Dead studio? I'll set up two keyboards, and I'll go over all the songs so you know what they are. And we sat down, and we just started improvising.
And you became
And
a good
all of a
band.
sudden, I could hear his references to Bartok.
Yeah.
He could hear my references to Stravinsky.
And
He
you
knew
connected, kind of
he
thing?
knew what we were doing, what
you were
we're
doing.
and where my mind was going,
Okay.
and could respond to it
I see.
in these same
so it
terms.
was a dialogue.
The dialogue happened immediately,
Wow.
and so we sort of fed it.
And you decided
a-
to work together.
Yeah,
Okay. How long have you worked together?
20 years.
Oh, so it's a good duo.
Yeah,
So did you say he passed away?
no,
No, he's alive.
yes, Tom
So you-
Constant.
Tom
You see,
Constant.
living in North Carolina now,
Okay, so in order to work with you, he has to fly here,
or I have to fly,
there,
or we both have to fly.
somewhere. If you
It's-
perform somewhere, you both have to fly there.
Not necessarily, but
If-
somebody has to fly.
Okay, one of you has to
If we
fly.
perform here, you can fly. He can fly. I don't have to. If we perform there,
Now, on stage, I don't know, that just came to my mind. You are not so clean cut. I mean, you wear a different costume, or you do something different. You don't have a suit on, right? Just a question. Just a question. If you're on stage, you have a costume?
not much.
Okay. You can be yourself just like that?
Yeah,
Oh, you could. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I
It's
thought
about the
you-
music. Although, I mean, we do. We have explored
Different ways.
visuals.
I see.
Um,
So
and-
you have explored how people perceive you by the way you dress, no?
No,
You don't test that?
not much. No.
Okay, because, like you mentioned, Jerry Garcia, he used to dress pretty hippie, right? He didn't dress with a three-piece suit. So I thought maybe
He dressed the way he felt like dressing.
dressing.
It wasn't.
So did you kind of imitate him?
No. Yes, in that I dress the way I feel like dressing, not to look like him.
Not to look like him. Got it. But you didn't dress like the 70s.
Like the 70s?
Yeah.
In the 70s, I probably did.
Oh, okay. Did you have some kind of tie-dye shirts and all that?
I never got that much into tie-dye, but
Really?
yeah.
But there's still a store on Haight Street that sells them.
Many, yeah.
Yeah. So you're not into that much.
Tie-dye?
This style of with the drawings and stuff, you like that?
Yeah, I like all sorts of things.
Okay.
I'm not...
Do you collect T-shirts?
I probably have a collection of 200 Grateful Dead T-shirts. They were just given to me or something like that.
Oh, because I just tried to sell on eBay Kurt Cobain T-shirt. It's unique. So I was wondering if you collect T-shirts.
I don't, really.
You don't.
They were just given.
Just the Grateful Dead ones.
Well, they were given to me because...
You work for them.
Yeah, they're very
Those
generous.
maybe in 20 years will have even more value.
But when I say we explored visuals...
Yeah. It was not about the dressing.
Good. That's the only place you went with it. Yes, it's not about that.
What was it about?
I also paint, and I set up a virtual video
Background? For the show. Something like that. Okay.
I'm trying to say it. If you keep interrupting me, you don't make me get closer to it.
All right, go ahead. Say it. I'm trying to guess.
Yes, that's a mistake. I set up a video virtual synthesizer that parallels my keyboards.
Synthesizer.
So I
That's a good one.
So I put my paintings
Yeah.
on the notes of the keyboards, and then there's video projection
Of that.
of the not. So you see every note that we play,
Okay.
and I'm trying to design situations where you're painting for the music and you're playing for the visual.
Okay, that's good.
So
So you synthesize both.
The stories get told with a visual.
And you tested that?
We've done it live. We've done DVDs.
Really?
We've done, yeah.
People like it?
They seem to like it.
All right. So you did develop your own personalized style with your paintings, kind of thing. Kind of. Yeah, I got it. Finally got it. I couldn't have guessed it, to be honest. I didn't know you.
I didn't think you could.
No, I didn't know you could make sound with visuals in one piece. I mean.
Well, the thing is, it's not being triggered by the sound.
Yeah.
It's being triggered by your fingers.
I see.
So you can change the sound and change the image independently.
But if you're yourself playing, there's someone doing that somewhere?
Doing what?
Changing.
You can do that, or when I'm doing it, it's usually all in control.
You can control it, just like me. I'm doing that now a little bit.
Yes. Well, I'm controlling it with my fingers as I'm playing.
Yeah. And I'm
so,
controlling with my fingers as I interview you.
Right.
So
But I'm playing the music at the same time. See, you're stopping and asking me a question and then going over.
Yeah.
When I play a note,
Yeah.
it has sound and image.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people tell me that I interrupt them, so you're not the only one. You're not the only one, because I try to guess what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's even.
It's okay. You're pretty relaxed and make people feel comfortable, so it's okay.
Okay, that's good. But I shouldn't guess something I'm not sure of. Yeah.
Well, there's a reason you're here. I'm here.
It's to clarify me.
Yes. You're supposed to ask the question, not answer it.
All right. So, so now that's your style. On stage.
My style.
Like if
Look,
someone see your show, they will see the
they
visual.
could see that.
They
They
could.
could see that show. They
Okay,
could see another show.
I see.
There's a lot of things. I recently Bob Weir
Hmm.
from the Grateful Dead recently did a couple of years ago did a concert at Marin Vet's auditorium
Okay.
with a 70-piece orchestra and a 12-piece choir,
Okay.
and I did some of the orchestrations for that
Okay.
and worked with him on arrangements and things like that. So any number of places you could see where I'm.
Called about to do that kind of
Yeah,
work.
if I'm doing a Dos Hermanos thing, that has a certain kind of compositional
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
but I also write songs.
And you
you
sell
know,
them?
Yes, well, the ones I've written with the Grateful Dead have gone gold and platinum, so that's okay.
Oh, so you got good, good reference. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So that's good that you wrote some of the Grateful Dead songs. I mean,
well, very few of them, and the late ones, but I'm still proud of it. It's a wonderful, you know.
oh yeah, you should be. You should be because he's very famous. I mean, and
Well, they're great artists. That's
he's
the
also
thing.
a great artist. Yeah.
Well, the Grateful Dead is more than he, but they are great artists, and they have they've, they're in history. So for me to have
To
been
be part,
associated,
to have been part of it.
huge honor.
Who would be your third superstar band? Yours?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, to be honest, at the end of the Grateful Dead,
Yeah, yeah,
when Jerry died,
yeah.
it was actually we were at the funeral, and Tom, my Dos Hermanos partner, who used to play with them, and
Was there too?
was there, and he turned to me, and he said, "You know how to get through this, don't you?"
Yeah.
I said, "No, I don't," and he said, "You play through this."
Oh,
And so one day I called him, and that's how Dos Hermanos started.
okay, okay. So
And then we got psychedelic. We'd been playing together. And at the end of the Grateful Dead's tenure in one studio,
yeah,
we moved to another studio. No records were made out of that new studio. But the old one of the roadies, he was moving out of his room, and he looked up and he was counting the joists. And he said, "Oh, I think it's right here." And he punched his hand right through the wall,
no.
reached in and grabbed a bottle, pulled it out.
He was on drugs.
No,
He was
And he-
sober.
yeah. And he pulled it out and he said, "This is crystal mescaline that Kesey dropped in 1960 something, 69.
Oh,
And it fell through the floorboards. Do you want it?" I said, "Yes."
you mean something you would actually take?
Mescaline, yeah.
Oh, I don't know what it is,
That's
but
another
but
psychedelic,
it's
and that's
another
what
one?
and that's what started Tom and I on the psychedelic journey.
Venture, okay.
Was this
Okay.
crystal mescaline from?
So, do you think it would be a good idea to add a third person to your band, or you like a duo like that?
Well, third people have come in. I mean, we've done many things. Vince Welnick
How
was
about a
playing with.
drummer?
We've worked with Lucas Ligeti.
Okay. Because drummer is what adds the beat to the music, basically.
Well, there's a lot of music without drummers.
Okay. Okay, so once in a while you had a drummer. Okay.
We've had drummer, we've had orchestras, we've had
Guitarist.
guitarists. Yes, a good pal of mine, Henry Kaiser, is wonderful.
Okay. So sometimes
he's
you
phenomenal.
change the band. I mean, you vary.
We have guests.
Okay, guest
Prairie Prince
performers.
played with us. He's
Oh.
I don't know if you know, he's a great
Of
drummer
course.
from the Tubes,
Oh.
and Dick Dale, and he's out
Famous people.
recently with Todd Rundgren, and he's wonderful. Well, it's not so much about them being famous as being such great musicians. The point is to make the joy more.
I see. So if I go on YouTube, I do Dos Hermanos, I'll find you playing.
Yeah,
You would?
I'm sure you would.
Okay, so you are out there. I mean, you are public. You're not just in
Yeah,
private venues.
yeah.
You are out there. Okay.
Well, we
So
just made I told you, one of the records is from the Fillmore.
okay. Oh,
So,
the Fillmore. Okay.
you know, we've
So
played all over the country, in Japan.
yeah, I love the Fillmore. That's good. So that's good. So what would they type? Your name or Dos Hermanos?
Either one,
Either one, they find you.
I think so.
Okay. Just to make sure.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Because I don't know. And if we go to
But
Bob.
remember the E on Dos Hermanos.
Oh, there's a E. Okay, DOSE.
Yes.
Okay, and if we go to bobbralove.com, there's also a piece.
There'll be something, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
There'll be some video there too,
Oh, really?
that you'll of the playing of the video.
Okay,
that,
and or something you have contributed to, or did you put a piece, maybe the Grateful Dead, where you were part of a contributor?
I don't think that's there. I think you
You
can
might.
find it
You
anywhere.
can, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Grateful Dead stuff is everywhere.
Oh.
I mean, if you want the songs that I was writing with them is "Way to Go Home," which was sung by Vince Welnick, the keyboard player,
Okay.
last keyboard
and you
player,
can find that.
and Picasso Moon, Easy Answers.
Oh, okay. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you have a long list of composition under your name. That's
It's
good.
a few, yeah. It's been a long time.
And you build it up every day,
Yeah.
right? You build
I
it-
try. I try.
You can write how do you call it, a memoir about all this one day. But you're still young. You can wait maybe for your third breakthrough with a super big star. Well, do you know Fleetwood Mac was at the Dreamforce
Oh no.
convention?
Uh-huh.
But it was very expensive. It was like $1,000, and it was sold out anyway.
I have a friend who used to work for them. I've seen them a few times.
Yeah.
A wonderful band.
Yeah, if you hook up with them, you'll be again with a famous band. Because
Well, I have no desire to work with them, but
No, okay.
yeah.
Are they also?
I don't really. At the end of the Grateful Dead,
Yeah,
I realized that
you want to do your own.
I want to do my own thing.
Okay.
If it doesn't bring me personal joy, I mean, I'm in a position, thanks to everything that I've been able to do and the royalties and all that,
Yeah,
that I can pick and choose
who you want to work with?
what I get to do.
Oh, you don't need to even have their support. Okay.
Yeah. So
you
if-
have the point in your life where let me do my own thing, kind of thing.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's my
I mean-
name out there.
Well, it's also I feel like I also hit the top of the support.
That you needed.
Yeah, the supporting other people.
Okay.
That I got the education I needed to get to address my own material.
Okay, sounds good. So, I don't want to ask you that question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Where do you perform and when?
Well, nothing's on the books right now,
Okay.
but I'm finishing this Dos Hermanos record, so I think we'll be going out soon.
After that, you will
Yeah,
send it
figure.
to different venues and then perform.
Yeah,
Okay, got
and
it.
sometimes I mean we've gone a lot through Chicago, through well,
different
it's
cities.
the road,
Different
it's
cities.
everywhere. Yeah.
Does
Different
that
ci-
wear you down a little bit to travel?
It's yes,
Of course,
but it's the joy of playing. You get an.
Is that what you were trained to do? Play the keyboard? When you say you were a student for a while, but is that what you were?
I was composing more
Oh,
than
just composing. I see.
I mean, I was playing keyboard, and the vehicle has always been through the keyboard for me.
For you.
I learned it as a kid. My father
Had a piano
had a piano,
I see,
and so
I
I
see.
got to.
to experiment. Okay.
Yeah, and also just to get lessons and to hear him play Chopin
And
not great, but he played it all the time, and it was, uh, there's a lot of great music.
of course, and that's what led you to study music and then to
Yeah,
work in the music industry.
exactly. It's
Yeah,
you know,
it keeps going. It's a continuous story. I mean, for you, it's
yes,
evolving.
exactly. It will always evolve. It will.
Yeah.
I will always be interested by new material, or I'm doing a lot of vocal work now that feels very good.
Oh yeah, you say you're a songwriter.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're not a singer.
Well, I'm doing vocal work now,
Okay.
pretty much to learn exactly how to control what I'm delivering.
Oh,
Uh,
you
I
take voice lesson or
yeah,
something? You do. Okay.
yeah, but the voice that with the Grateful Dead,
Yeah.
we got to work with all kinds of people.
All right.
At Shoreline here,
Yeah.
uh, and also at St. John the Divine in New York, I got to work with the Kyoto monks,
Okay.
and so they vibrated overtones into me,
Okay.
and so I explored those independently. And so uh, um, when I started putting words to the overtones,
Yes.
it started to have that bluesy growl,
Oh.
kind of Mr. Saturday Dance,
Oh
you know,
yeah, the blues. Yeah.
right? So I kind of pursued that up to a point, and then I realized I needed to learn control,
Oh.
real control.
Wow, you do it well. You do it well.
Well, I've worked on it,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
but I always thought I did that well.
Oh.
But the control is happening with now. That's multiphonic, right? That's more than one sound at a time.
Yeah.
It's like singing a chord.
Yeah.
So when I pursued the lessons, I began to realize that the only way to be taught is one note at a time. So you learn to control the clean tone first,
Ah.
and then add the overtones.
Wow.
But with the overtones, you can then orchestrate the words by thickness.
Oh. So what you were doing was like Louis Armstrong a little bit?
Yes, like Janis Joplin a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit, Joe
So
Cocker.
so yeah, they are kind of the big figures, right?
Right, right.
And
Tom Waits, I mean,
and
gorgeous.
soon we're gonna add your name there. Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay, and you have a name that is easy to remember too, BB, and with the word love, and it's not something you forget very easy, right?
I was pretty quick to remember it. Yeah.
Okay. No, no. I mean, if you ever put that name on an album, it's not hard to forget. It's a name that click love. Okay, click. It resonates with people, right?
Good.
Yeah. So so maybe you should put that name instead of Dos Hermanos.
Well, it's on there.
Oh yeah. Okay. But it depends what you're gonna call the album, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
which album it is. Dos Hermanos is an existing.
It's just music, and Bob
No,
Bralove is more vocal, right?
no,
No?
no. I can sing in Dos Hermanos. No rules.
Oh, you can't.
I can make up. I can make up a song right there on the spot. I've done that.
Ah, okay.
It's all.
Okay. It's not,
I'm allowed to bring anything I want into Dos Hermanos.
oh, okay.
It's total freedom.
Okay.
But so is he.
He can also sing
No, he doesn't sing. Well, he does a little singing. He does some. He did a.
some vocal.
Yeah, he did a great job on. We did a version of "People Are Strange," from the Doors,
Oh.
that he did a great job on. But the only thing that you are restricted by is that the other person is bringing anything they want.
Oh, so it has to kind of
You have to
match.
figure out how to make it work. There are times when we're playing where I feel like I'm not communicating, or I'm not getting at some point across, and I've tried, and then I just go. I just go, I'm going to insist on this. And it's kind of like an argument
Oh.
that we're having. And then when I listen back to the recordings, the argument is the best part.
Oh, okay.
So
But
it's like,
just aside from the visual, what you look like, if I recorded just the voice part and I didn't know what you looked like, I could think that you are African American. I'm not saying about the visual, even though I can see you now, but you can imitate that kind of voice.
uh,
Maybe the influence of Stevie Wonder. I don't know.
maybe. I think of it as the Kyoto monks, but
Oh, okay. Okay, but no, I mean,
uh
if I didn't know what you look like, I just put like a rideau, a veil,
huh.
uh, and I would just hear what you just did a few minutes ago. I would think it's not a white person. I mean, because they all have different vocals, right? So, so it's good that you can imitate that kind of sound, or you can do it.
Uh, it's all fodder. It's all you put it in the mix,
Yeah.
and I mean we're all different. We all have
Yeah, you have a
strength. We
voice
have
of one.
things,
You have some
it's like
vocals, but you are not. You're a white person. That's what I'm trying to make. I mean, but maybe because you rubbed on some people.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You were raised where? In yeah, something like
that's
that. That's
that's
totally not white.
that's monks.
Yeah.
That's the
So you were raised in San Francisco?
New York
Okay. What neighborhood?
in Westchester,
Okay.
north suburbs.
Okay. Was it pretty much mixed, like San Francisco?
No, nothing's like San Francisco. That's why we
Okay.
live here.
Oh, okay. So it was they had their own kind of ethnic groups and stuff.
Well, it was mostly in my neighborhood was mostly white Jewish.
Okay.
My mother was from Buenos Aires.
I see.
Um,
She was Spanish then.
yeah, and my father was
From New York.
no from D.C. area,
Okay.
Russian Jewish heritage.
From that area. Okay.
So, but they both rejected religion.
Okay. And
In
when you
favor of
came to San
science.
Francisco, you blended with all the ethnic groups.
Uh,
You
and
did not.
loved it.
Oh, you loved it. Okay.
It's.
Okay. You didn't try to go to your own group, kind of thing.
I've never felt very strongly about a group. Perhaps the strongest group I've felt
Yeah.
I've felt is the communal energy of the Deadheads.
Oh.
Their very powerful love comes from that group of people,
Okay.
and it's very, very impressive.
Really?
Yeah,
And where were they? Where were they?
Deadheads are in the Grateful Dead shows.
Oh, they are in it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're Grateful Dead fans.
Okay. So.
And that is a huge community, and they're very.
Oh, okay. So they were following them.
Yes, I think when we were doing a stadium tour, I think there were estimates of 10,000 following us from show to show.
Oh, they called the Deadheads.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm totally ignored. All right. All right. So you feel like you are Deadhead.
Yeah, in terms of community,
Yeah.
it's
a
a
good
very,
community.
it's a very, music is very, very important to them, and the spirit of the Grateful Dead of improvisation, of community involvement,
Yeah.
very.
Do you play sometime in those outdoors 3-day concerts where all kinds
I
of
have,
bands?
yeah.
Oh, you have. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good. You see also a lot of stoned people there. You like that kind of crowd? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of stone people everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps you haven't noticed, but
No, in San Francisco, more and more I notice because people don't know the law. They smoke it in cafe now, so they don't know the law that says you have to smoke it inside. But it passes. San Francisco is very lenient about not enforcing the law. so So you see young people, they smoke in the cafe outdoors, and I say, my God, these people think it's legal to do it, but I don't say anything because
Yeah.
it is very permissive city. I mean,
Yes. And it's a pretty. I mean,
yeah,
it's not
everything
much.
goes,
I
everything
mean,
goes.
smoke is smoke. So if
Yeah,
it's irritating somebody,
they
you
can move.
s- they should be moved away from.
Yeah, they can
This
just
is
change seat or something.
something. But it's a. It's. I mean, it's just pot.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
no, I know.
just
Now
like,
it's
come
legal
on.
anyway. It's legal in San Francisco, so it's legal inside, just in case you didn't know. But anyway, when you're on stage, you say you use something that modifies your music, correct? Psychedelics.
Psychedelics. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and those are all allowed for music players.
What do you mean all allowed?
You're
By the
allowed to
law?
purchase them
No.
and use
No.
them. You're not allowed to purchase them? You are?
No.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all musician though is part of their
No,
culture,
people, you know, musicians are pretty permissive as a group.
right? Because they want to
so,
influence the music.
so, nobody's required to do any drug. Nobody,
They
they're
want to.
clean. Some
They
people
want
want
to.
to do it. Some people don't. It's all okay.
Yeah.
The issue is really where does it take you?
Oh,
If
okay.
it's
The
not,
Beatles didn't use it. I mean,
yes, they did lots of it.
they did.
Yes.
Oh, okay. We never heard about it on the news. Okay, so it's very
Everybody, yeah.
everybody in the
Everybody,
music.
they got it from the same people I did.
Okay, so the music world is very very common then, from the old band to the new bands.
Anybody who grew up in the 60s,
Yeah, started using it when they played music or anytime.
yeah, anytime.
Okay, got it, got it.
I mean, right now it's very big in the Silicon Valley
Oh,
as microdosing,
oh,
which is very small doses, and
it doesn't hurt you or anything.
they see it as enhancing creativity and productivity.
I see, I see. And then you have to detox and drink tons of water after the performance, or it just goes away by itself.
It I mean, you have to take care of yourself just like anything else. If you have a drink, you need to,
Detox.
you know,
Okay, got it.
it's it should be taken, in my view, should be taken seriously.
Okay.
And there, don't take it in a place that you don't want to be in.
Okay.
Take it in a place that has positive
Environment.
energy and
Okay.
positive environment, surrounded by people who love you. And
Okay.
if you don't know if you're not sure,
Yeah, don't
and
take it.
don't take it.
Got it, got it.
I think of it as
Enhance
a huge benefit to my life.
enhance your music?
Yes, it has enhanced my consciousness in general.
Okay. Now, did you compare when you play without it and when you play with it?
Yeah.
So there's a difference?
There's a difference after each time you take it.
No, but what
There's
if
a
you don't...
lesson that you learn
Okay.
that stays with you for the rest of your life.
Okay, but what if you
So
don't
it changes.
take anything?
So it changes the way you play.
Okay. But what if you don't take anything? Did you see a difference?
Yes,
You do.
of course. I see a difference when it's raining and I play. There's a difference in everything.
Okay, I just want to know if it makes a real difference.
Well, I wouldn't be taking it if I didn't think that.
Okay. Okay.
But
But isn't it better to be lucid and clear-minded than to be...
yes, that's why I take it.
Oh, okay. Okay, now we're crossing a bridge here. Okay.
Yes, you have a perception of it that's uninformed.
Okay. So anyway,
You should
it's-
try some and see what it's like.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know if I'll follow the advice, but it was a pleasure to get to know you.
Great to know you.
Yes, and I didn't know what you looked like because you had a black mask in your profile or something. I don't know, but anyway, it's good to get to know
Oh, a
you.
picture of roses.
Something like
Skulls
that.
and roses, yeah.
Something like that.
Keyboard skulls and roses.
Okay, okay. So I didn't even know what you looked
Those
like.
are Grateful Dead icons.
Really?
Skulls
Oh.
and roses, yeah.
Okay, so it's good to know that. So thank you for being here. I'm sure everybody will enjoy this interview. It's going to be a famous
Thank you for
talking
inviting
about
me.
famous people. Thank you so much.